Recently, we've been seeing a lot of social experiment content on the internet about Korea. Social experiments are often conducted with hidden cameras, and it can be an opportunity for reflection and praise. As we learn about the level of conscience and character of ordinary people in certain situations. In many countries around the world, experimental cameras are also conducted with children. And we can see the level of conscience and consciousness of society through the behavior of children and the attitude of adults toward children. In the United States conducts experimental cameras on children. The experiment was created with the intention of showing differences in the behavior of children in different countries by testing children in similar environments. The video was shared on various communities and received great attention. The experiment is conducted in France, China, the US, and South Korea with the help of local coordinators in each country. The idea is to see what children do when they see money on the street. First, we're shown a short meditation of the experiments in France and China. In France and China, we weren't able to observe the behavior of children in those countries. In France, we had a child sitting on a park bench, and a passerby slipped a door to see how they would react. And in China, we had a child standing on the street, and we dropped money to see how they would react. And in both countries, while the children were looking at the money and thinking about it, a passerby appeared out of nowhere and picked it up and threw it away. So we didn't really see the child's reasoning behavior. Then we showed footage from the United States and South Korea. In the US, as in France, a child is placed on a bench and a passerby spills the money. The US experiment featured 3 children. One chased the person who spilled the money and ran after them, returning the money to them, much to the delight of the mom and the moderator who was secretly watching. The other 2 sneaked the bonds into their pockets. The 3rd child was embarrassed when the person who spilled the money approached them and asked if they saw the money fall, returning the money to them. The last child lied and said he didn't see the money, causing the mom, who was secretly watching, to feel bad that she hadn't raised her child well. Finally, there was an experimental meditation from South Korea. Unusually, South Korea specifically placed a Korean flag alongside the money on the road. The Korean coordinator explained that the flags were placed together to make the money more visible. The first children to pass by noticed the flags and the full bills on the street. The kids stare at it and start to think about it. The children looked around to see if anyone had spilled it. When they saw that no one was around, they didn't take the money, but instead picked up both the money and the flag and placed it on the bench. Before walking away, they gave the flag and the money innocent wave goodbye. The next children were 2 boys who appeared to be brothers. The younger one was interested in the money and seemed to want to take it, but the older one stopped him, saying that it wasn't ours. When the younger one persisted, the older one firmly said no and walked away. The 3rd child is surprised to see the money and the flag, and immediately starts picking up the flag and waving it around in excitement, not even bothering to turn around. But these children see the flag as more valuable than the money. Suddenly, they put the money aside and start thinking about what to do with the flag. Some kids want to leave the flag in place, while others want to take it to the police station. And with that, the videos of each country's experiments are over, and the videos have gotten tons of comments. France and China are a disappointment. The adults are supposed to be setting an example for the kids, and the fact that the experiment wasn't even possible is socially immature. Don't blame the kids for the results of the experiment. The children are not at fault. This is a situation for the adults to reflect on. Korean children are so cute, so innocent, and so honest. Korea is an honest society. Children behave like that because of their parents. In another case, a Korean elementary school student impressed Americans The story is about Yu Huijin, a student in Tearjerker, North Gyeongsang Province. In Tearjerker, North Gyeongsang Province, there is the Hogak Bridge. It's a railroad bridge on the Gyeongbu Line that was originally opened in 1905 as an exterior railroad. During the Korean War in 1950, the bridge was nicknamed the Moon of Patriotism because UN troops successfully defended the Nakdong River from the Waigwon Railroad Bridge. While taking a walk on the bridge with her parents, Yu was struck by a memorial stone that read, "Lieutenant Elliot and his wife are laid to rest here." Lieutenant Elliot was a Korean War veteran who disappeared while on night watch near the bridge in 1950. At the height of the Battle of the Nakdong River, his wife, who had missed Elliot for more than 60 years, passed away from cancer in 2015, and his children scattered some of her ashes in the Nakdong River below the Hogak Bridge, in hopes that they would be reunited in heaven. After learning about this story from the memorial, young Yujin came home and immediately wrote a letter to Chilgo. "My mother disappeared while fighting for our country, and we haven't found her remains yet. Please find them." It's sad that even his wife met a different fate, and that his son and daughter, who are over 70 years old, are waiting for their father's remains. Chilgok has been steadily exhuming the remains. The elementary school student's letter was sent to Army Infantry Division Commander Oshik and Chilgok Battalion Commander, who are in charge of exhuming the remains, and the army made a copy of the child's letter and distributed it to the soldiers participating in the exhumation. The soldiers reading the letter felt even more committed to the exhumation, and Yu's gesture even reached Dan's, Georgia, one of the elders, who immediately wrote back to Yu. Seeing a South Korean elementary school student take an interest in a foreign soldier gave me faith in the younger generation. I am proud of her father's and other soldiers' noble sacrifice. She wrote that she hoped Yu Hang's beautiful and bright spirit would never change, and that if she were to visit South Korea in the near future, she would like to meet and hug her in person. All of this went viral on social media and touched people all over the country, including Chinese people who grew up in China and only saw Chinese children who were horribly unresponsive, but were moved by the actions of Korean children and spread the word on social media. I was sent on a secondment to the Korean headquarters as a system engineer. I came with high hopes of learning a lot, but I was shocked to see the company housing. For one thing, it's in a residential neighborhood surrounded by apartments and houses. And for another, I hate children. In my opinion, children in China come in two flavors: selfish, mischievous, and selfish, or pathetic, unable to do anything on their own. Either way, they are the petty emperors raised by parents during the one-child policy era. Unruly pranksters with no sense of responsibility for their actions. They have been known to drop cinder blocks from apartment rooftops and vandalize vending machines in their neighborhoods. Once, I was traveling on a bus and the kid next to me intentionally lit up my feet several times. I completely dislike kids because of these experiences. And Korean kids are even worse than Chinese kids. Then one day, I was leaving work early and ran into a group of elementary school kids on their way home. I deliberately took a narrow shortcut, and the elementary school students followed me into the street. So I had no choice but to walk alongside them. After a while, I felt a car pull up behind me, and I immediately felt sorry for the driver. There were so many elementary school children in the alleyway that the car could barely fit through, and I didn't think the car could pass until they were all out of the way. Suddenly, one of the kids yelled, "Get out of the way!" And when they heard that, they all turned around and moved to the wall in unison. And I moved to one side to let the car pass. The car honked once in appreciation and drove away. and as soon as it was out of sight, the kids started walking again. I was surprised enough by their behavior. But there was one more surprise as we exited the alley. We came to a crosswalk, which was heavily trafficked, but without a traffic light. Suddenly, the children raised their hands in unison and looked both ways. And the drivers stopped their cars in front of the crosswalk. The children crossed the street with their hands raised and bowed to the stopped cars on both sides. Some even said thank you out loud. I followed the children across the street, dumbfounded. Chinese children would have done what they wanted to do whether a car was coming or not. But Korean children were so different from Chinese children after that. I often encountered children around my hostel. And now I have little friends with whom I greet and keep in touch for the first time. I felt that children in Korea are cute looking at Korean children who are polite and honest. I think the future of Korea will be brighter. That's it for today's content. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please give it a thumbs down. I hope you will continue to pay attention to the Honeytiptude channel. Thank you.